This is lesson number 6 from Metal Technology, Hand Tools That Cut. It's out of Chapter 8 of the Modern Metalworking Textbook, pages 123 to 139. Make sure again that you're always stopping and taking your notes. Get your key terms, your descriptors all down, and your images. The first hand tool that we're going to talk about is something called a hacksaw. On this hacksaw up here, we have the handle, which is where your primary cutting hand is going to be placed, and I'm right-handed, so I use my right hand here. My left hand would then go on the very front. You do not want to put your other hand here or back here or on the blade, obviously. So one hand goes here and one hand goes here. It's a hand tool consisting of a frame with a handle and a replaceable blade that's used to saw metal. One thing you want to watch out for when you are cutting or when you're filing is something called chatter. Chatter is a vibration noise caused by cutting when it springs back and forth. So this graphic over here represents something that is springing back and forth. Chatter is going to make a real high-pitched kind of a noise. It can be a vibration noise. It can be anything springing back and forth. So you want to watch that because that will damage your project and that will damage your tool. The flexible back blades, this is an example of 3 blades actually. These are saw blades that are going to go onto your hacksaw. These have hardened teeth. The only thing that's hardened on the actual blade itself is the teeth. Everything else is flexible. The whole thing can be bent a little bit. That's in case if you get your saw blade bound up, instead of it cracking or breaking immediately, it has a little bit of flex, so it will bend. When you're talking about saw blades, the main thing that you're talking about is something called a set. What the set is the way that the teeth of the saw blade are bent. So there are a couple of different pictures here. It's a pretty poor graphic, but as you can see, there are some different ways these teeth are bent on these saw blades from one to another. The 2 main sets of a saw blade are a raker set and a wavy set. A raker set is going to have teeth bent left, right, and straight. A wavy set will only have teeth bent left and right. Files are going to be used pretty often throughout the metal technology course. This is a hand tool that's designed to smooth or shape work. So you'll put your dominant hand here. So if you're right-handed, I use my right hand on this part, and I'll hold my left hand on the top, my palm kind of facing down here, depending on what type of filing I am doing. The file is going to get filled up with material, so whatever it is you're filing is going to get into the grooves of the file. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to take this thing here. It's called a file card. What the file card will do is it will clean the grooves of the file. So if it's got plastic or metal or whatever stuck on the inside here, the file card is what you use to clean this off. There are 2 types of files that we're going to typically be talking about. One's a single cut. Single cut file is a file that produces a smooth surface finish. If you look closely, single cut file only has grooves going one way. So up here you really got to look, but you can see that the grooves are only going in one direction. So single cut is going to be a slower process, however it's going to leave a smoother surface finish. If you want a faster process, you would use a double cut. Double cut removes metal rapidly but produces a rough surface finish. You know this is a double cut file down here just by looking at the grooves that are in the file. So it has the initial file marks going one direction here, symbolized by this horned arrow. But then once you get to this point here, you can see that the file has this X-shaped pattern. So there's actually grooves going this way and this way. So that's what makes this a double cut. Again, it's going to produce a rougher surface finish. It will remove a material quicker. On lesson 6, there's 2 types of filing techniques that we're going to be worried about. One is straight filing, which is this first one up here. So it's a technique that consists of pushing the file lengthwise straight ahead or at a slight angle. So you have your file set at an angle. That's what this orange arrow represents. And I would have kind of my right hand here and my left hand here. and I'm just going to kind of be simply pushing forward. So if I'm working on this piece of aluminum, I'm just pushing straight forward this way. Notice if you look real close, the grooves in this file are kind of being matched to my angle at which I'm pushing. Draw filing is the next one. Draw filing is done at a 90-degree angle, so this is really important. So you need to make sure that you really note down this 90-degree angle part. So at a 90-degree angle to whatever it is that you are filing. You will be draw filing your screwdriver blade. When you draw file, you want to make sure that this is set again at 90 degrees to whatever it is you're filing. So I want to file down this material. I would have one hand on this side, one hand over here on this side on the handle. And all you do is just simply pull back and forth. So as you're moving back and forth, when you're doing this, you want to maintain this angle here. And you also want to watch, one of the safety precautions is you want to keep your hands out pretty wide. If you get your fingers in close here, when you're draw filing like this, a lot of the times what happens is you will slip off the edge of the project, and as you're pushing and pulling back and forth that quickly, if you slip off, you could come back and you could hit your hand, you could do some damage. So one of the best tricks to do is keep your hands out wide here and here when you're draw filing. It's going to produce a really fine, smooth finish, especially when we are doing this on our screwdriver blade. A little bit of a typo here that's supposed to say lesson 6 essential questions. I'll make that correction for the next time this is posted. But to wrap this up, answer the essential questions as we did in class. What are some of the ways we could cut metal? We talked about saws, aviation snips, shear, torch, plasma cutter, water jet, and a laser. Out of all these listed, the only two that we do not have in our classroom are the water jet and the laser. Those are both extremely expensive technologies. We did look at a couple of YouTube videos of the water jet and the laser, so you can see exactly what happens with those. So the second question is describe a couple of those methods. So pick a couple of those and cite some specific examples. The final essential question is what's the difficulty when cutting metals in relation to other materials? We talked about the fact that metal is harder to cut, and we're going to need specific tools. That's going to do it for lesson 6. If you have any questions, as always, make sure you contact me in some way. Make sure you are doing the workbook assignment for this lesson as well.